Let me ask you something. Are you wondering why so many people avoid planning for retirement, even when they know it's important? You're not alone. A surprising number of folks in their 50s, 60s, and even early 70s haven't built a clear plan for retirement. Not because they don't care, but because the whole idea feels overwhelming, or sometimes even uncomfortable to think about. In this video, I'm going to break this down for you. Why people put off retirement planning, what risks come with that, and, most importantly, what you can do about it. So whether you've already retired or you're still working part-time or full-time, this will give you a clearer, more confident path forward. And don't worry, no lectures, no confusing charts. Just honest, practical guidance. Now let's talk about the 5 biggest reasons people avoid planning for retirement, and what you can do to protect yourself from each one. First, and this is a big one, it's emotional avoidance. A lot of people think retirement planning is just about money. But very often, the deeper reason we put it off is because of what retirement represents emotionally. When you plan for retirement, you're not just budgeting. You're facing the idea that your identity might be changing, that your role in life could shift. Maybe you've been the breadwinner, the caregiver, the decision-maker for years. And now, you're asking, what comes next? That's a tough question. One woman I spoke with, let's call her Mary, worked as a nurse for over 40 years. Everyone admired her. She was dependable. She saved lives. But when it came time to retire, she delayed it over and over. Not because she needed the paycheck, but because she didn't know who she was without her job. She didn't want to lose that sense of being needed. And that's more common than people admit. Here's the thing. If you never acknowledge those emotions, the fear of losing purpose, the fear of getting older, then it's easy to avoid the planning part altogether. So what can you do? Start by asking yourself not just how much money will I need, but what kind of life do I want after retirement? Think about how your days might look, not in a dreamy or idealized way, just practically. Would you want to volunteer? Help take care of your grandchildren? Learn something new? That emotional blueprint is just as important as your financial one. Now, the second big reason people avoid planning is this. They don't know where to start. This one's more about feeling lost in the details. Maybe you've asked yourself, should I talk to a financial advisor? What kind? How much do they cost? Do I need a will? What's the difference between a 401k and an IRA? And what if I'm already in my 60s? Is it too late? Those questions pile up fast. And when something feels complicated, our brains do what they do best. We put it off. I spoke with a gentleman named Bill, 67 years old, who told me, I kept saying I'd deal with it next month, but next month turned into 5 years. When we finally sat down to go over things, he was shocked to find that he actually could retire soon. He just didn't realize it because he never looked closely at what he had. So here's your solution. Pick one small step. Just one. That might be pulling together all your account statements in one place. Or watching a simple video that explains Social Security. Or calling your bank to ask about retirement savings options. You don't have to solve everything in one day, but you do need to start. The third reason, and this is more common than you might think, is fear of seeing the truth. Some people don't plan because they're afraid they won't like the answer. They're afraid they haven't saved enough. They're afraid it's too late. So instead of facing that possibility, they stay in the dark. But the problem is, time keeps moving whether we plan or not. I once met a couple, we'll call them Jim and Sandra, who admitted they hadn't looked at their finances in over 10 years. Jim said, I was scared we were going to run out of money. I figured if I didn't look, I wouldn't stress. The truth? They weren't in great shape, but they weren't hopeless either. Once we dug into it, they found ways to adjust, cut back some spending, make use of a pension Sandra forgot she even had, and downsize their home to free up cash. They went from anxiety to action, but only because they got honest with themselves. And you can too. I get that it's not easy, but you're always better off facing the truth early, while you still have time to adjust. Next up, the fourth reason people don't plan for retirement. They believe they're too late. This belief stops so many people in their tracks. You might be in your 60s or even early 70s and thinking, well, if I haven't done it by now, there's no point. But that's not true. Not at all. Even if you're already retired, there's still room to plan. You can still budget. You can still shift your expenses. You can still look into ways to boost your income, even if it's part-time or from home. You can still check your eligibility for benefits. You can even rethink your housing situation to lower your costs or improve your quality of life. Let me give you an example. Margaret, 71, was retired and living alone in a large house in suburban Ontario. Her heating bills were high, the maintenance was constant, and she felt isolated. But she didn't want to start over by moving. After a few conversations, she found a co-housing group nearby. Not a nursing home, just a shared living space with others her age. Lower bills, less stress, and way more social connection. That shift changed everything for her. Planning isn't just for people in their 30s. It's for anyone who still wants to make their future a little better than their present. Now, the fifth reason, and I want you to really think about this one, is the belief that planning takes away freedom. Sounds strange, right? But here's what I mean. Some people think, if I plan too much, I'll box myself in. I want to keep my options open. But in reality, the opposite is true. Planning doesn't limit your freedom. It creates it. When you know what you have, what you need, and what you want, you make choices with clarity. You're not guessing. You're not reacting to emergencies. You're living with intention. Think of it like going on a road trip. Sure, you can just start driving. No map, no plan, just hope for the best. But what happens when you run low on gas in the middle of nowhere? Planning is your map. It doesn't mean you have to follow it rigidly, but it gives you the power to choose your path with more confidence. And honestly, that's what most people are really looking for in retirement. Not just money, but peace of mind. A sense of control. The ability to say, I know where I stand, and I know where I'm going. So now that you know the 5 biggest reasons people avoid retirement planning: emotional avoidance, not knowing where to start, fear of the truth, thinking it's too late, and believing it limits freedom, you're probably asking, okay, what do I actually do now? And that's what I'm going to walk you through, step by step, in the next part. We'll talk about practical, real-life actions you can take, no matter where you're starting from, to build a retirement plan that works for you. Because this isn't about perfection, it's about peace of mind. But before we move on, take a second. If this video is helpful so far, go ahead and give it a like. It really helps the channel. And if you faced any of these 5 blockers yourself, or maybe you found a way through them, leave a comment and share your story. You never know who you might encourage by speaking up. Now let's get into part 2, where we turn insight into action. Alright, let's pick up right where we left off. You now understand why so many people avoid planning for retirement. But knowing the reasons is only the beginning. What really matters is, what can you do about it? Starting today? Let me break this down for you. If you're in your 50s, 60s, or even 70s, this is not too late. You still have choices. You still have power. And the steps I'm about to walk you through are simple, flexible, and most importantly, doable. So, here's what I recommend. Think of it as a simple 5-step path to building your retirement plan, even if you're starting from scratch. Step 1. Get clear on what retirement actually means to you. Not to your neighbor, not to some financial guru online. To you. Some people picture retirement as travel, hobbies, and long lunches. Others just want peace, security, and time with family. There's no right answer, but if you don't define it for yourself, you'll have a hard time knowing what you're planning for. One man I worked with, Roger, 62, always thought he was supposed to want golf courses and cruises. But after we talked, he realized what he really wanted was to spend more time with his grandkids and maybe teach woodworking at the local community center. His retirement plan completely changed after that. It wasn't about a luxury lifestyle. It was about building a meaningful routine. So ask yourself, what does a good day in retirement look like? Not a dream, just a good, regular Tuesday. That picture is your starting point. Step 2. Get honest about your numbers. Now I know this is where a lot of people feel nervous. Maybe your income was unpredictable. Maybe you had to dip into your savings to care for family. Life happens. I get it. But whatever your situation is, the numbers are never something to fear. They're just information. Here's what to look at. How much do you have saved in retirement accounts, savings accounts, pensions, or even equity in your home? What's your monthly income from Social Security, part-time work, rental income, or anything else? And what are your average monthly expenses, including housing, food, healthcare, transportation, and fun? Once you have these 3 pieces, savings, income, and expenses, you'll have a much clearer idea of where you stand. Now, if those numbers feel discouraging, don't panic. I worked with a woman named Susan who was 68 and only had about $22,000 saved. She thought she had failed retirement. But after we sat down, we found she had a few things going for her. No debt, modest spending, and access to some public benefits she hadn't applied for. She picked up part-time work at a garden center, not because she had to, but because she enjoyed it, and it helped stretch her savings further. Her retirement wasn't flashy, but it was peaceful and on her terms. You don't have to be rich to retire well. You just need to be realistic. Step 3. Reimagine your income. Now this is where things get interesting. Retirement used to mean stop working completely, but that idea is changing. Today, more and more people are blending retirement with some type of part-time work or passion project. And it's not just for the money. It's for the structure, the social interaction, the sense of contribution. Do you have a skill or interest that others would pay for? Maybe tutoring, writing, crafting, consulting, caregiving, even pet sitting. The possibilities are bigger than you think. A friend of mine, Michael, retired from a corporate job at 65. He started repairing bicycles in his garage. 3 years later, he's got steady customers and still enjoys it without pressure. It's enough income to cover extras like travel and gifts for his grandkids. Your retirement income doesn't have to be all from savings or Social Security. A small stream of income, even just a few hundred a month, can make a big difference. Step 4. Build flexibility into your plan. Here's something people don't always tell you. Your retirement plan is not a contract. It's a living, breathing tool. It can change as you change. Maybe your health shifts. Maybe a family member needs care. Maybe you just wake up one day and want something different. That's okay. Your plan should have room to adjust. That's why I always recommend building a cushion, both financially and emotionally. If you think you'll need $3,000 a month, plan for $3,300. If you think you want to live in one place, still keep an open mind to moving, if needed. And emotionally, give yourself permission to try things out. Don't feel pressured to get retirement right on day one. It's not a finish line. It's a new chapter. And like any chapter, it might take a few pages to find your rhythm. Finally, step 5. Invest in your daily well-being. Let me say something that might surprise you. The happiest retirees aren't always the richest. They're the ones who have meaningful routines, strong relationships, and good health. So think beyond your bank account. What are you doing for your mental and physical health? Are you staying connected with people? Are you learning new things? Are you moving your body every day, even just a little? I know a man in Australia, 72 years old, who starts every morning with a short walk and ends his week with a community trivia night. He says it gives him structure and purpose, more than his job ever did. That's the kind of thing money can't buy, but it does need to be planned for. Because if you don't build these habits intentionally, they tend to fade. So, let's quickly recap the 5 steps. Start with your vision. Get honest with your numbers. Explore new income options. Stay flexible. And care for your daily life, not just your finances. None of these steps require perfection. They just require you taking the next small step. And here's something I want to leave you with. Planning for retirement isn't about locking yourself into a rigid lifestyle. It's about opening doors. It's about protecting your peace of mind and making sure that you are in the driver's seat. Not circumstances, not guesswork, not fear. You deserve a retirement that reflects your values, not someone else's checklist. So whether you're just starting to think about it, or you've been retired for years and feel like something's missing, it's never too late to pause, reflect, and plan. And if this video gave you something to think about, go ahead and like it, so more people like you can find it. Share it with a friend who might need this reminder. And if you feel comfortable, leave a comment below. What does retirement really mean to you? I read every comment, and I'd love to hear your story. Take care of yourself, and take one small step today. You've got this.